Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Tabansi. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got some more drama, but before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get into this topic here, because this one is like the gift that keeps on giving. As you guys know, there's been this running back and forth in the media between Stephen A. Smith and Terrell Owens. As you guys know, Stephen A. Smith has been doing he's been going to various places doing different interviews. And he recently did an interview with the Joe Budden podcast. He went there, and Joe Budden and these guys were asking him to talk about his career and a bunch of different things. They debated Jordan, LeBron, all of that. But then at one point, Joe Budden and his cast, they basically asked Stephen A. Smith to break down the fallout that took place between himself and Max Kellerman. Now, initially, Stephen A. Smith had said that he didn't enjoy working with Max Kellerman, and he felt that he wanted to take the show in a different direction. That's what he initially said. But then he also said at the time when the news first broke that he was the one that pushed for that decision to be made, which he later on admitted and said that he told the executives, it's either me or Max. It got to that point. So ultimately, you know what happened? They got rid of Max. He got his own show. This just in. ESPN First Take went on to do something else, had an ensemble cast, and then went on to do very, very well. And it's currently doing well, especially with the addition of Shannon Sharpe on the roster. So we all know this. But during that interview, Stephen A. Smith then took it upon himself to take it a step further. Now, quick backstory, as you guys know, Max Kellerman is currently unemployed, although he's still under contract for 1 year, but he still doesn't have a gig. So knowing all of this, Stephen A. Smith then goes into this whole other thing where he started saying that, I was the one that was basically carrying the show. We started doing various research that told us that our cachet, I was up here, Max Kellerman was down here. That's the way that he characterized it on the show. I'm not making this up. That's what he did. He then took it a step further by saying that, we were beginning to question why people should listen to Max Kellerman, knowing that he's not a former athlete, nor does he have a background in journalism. As you guys know, Max Kellerman studied at Columbia University. He studied history, but he does have an extensive background in doing sports media, especially on television and all of that, like at a very young age. So Max Kellerman is very, very smart. I don't think anyone would accuse Max Kellerman of not being a smart person, a hard worker, a guy that knows his stuff. No one would accuse him of that. So what happened? Stephen A. Smith then says this. Then Terrell Owens was on the internet or whatever, and someone kept on adding him with this post of the blow up that him and Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman had a few years back, where T.O. essentially said to Stephen A. Smith on television, it's almost as if Max Kellerman is blacker than you. And they had this, this blow up on television at the time, where it was really Stephen A. Smith because T.O. was smiling about it. So T.O. then says facts. Stephen A. Smith somehow, I don't know how this happened, found out about it. Then he starts responding to Terrell Owens. He then takes it a step further, talking about, you're trifling and the stuff you tried to pull. Keep talking. I'm going to expose you. And then Terrell Owens, he starts pushing back at Stephen A. Smith. Now, there's a fundamental difference that exists here. Yes, Terrell Owens is a household name. Yes, we all know Terrell Owens. We also know Stephen A. Smith, etc. But the difference is Terrell Owens doesn't have a platform. It's important to bear that in mind. He doesn't have a platform. Stephen A. Smith does. He has a show and then he has his podcast. So what happens? Kyrie Irving tries to mediate the situation, says, hey, listen, you guys can handle this off the radar. Stephen A. Smith says, fine, I'll do that. You're right, brother. I'll back down. Typical Stephen A. Smith fashion. He then says he'll back down and then goes out the very next day and does an entire segment dedicated to Terrell Owens. Now, Stephen A. Smith has this habit, and it's something that Terrell Owens said and something we're going to play a little bit later for you guys, but it's something I've been saying for a few weeks now, which is he has this habit of saying nice things about you before he bleeps all over you. That's one thing. And he has a habit of dry snitching on people. He'll say, yo, I heard so-and-so person got into a fight. He got knocked out, but I'm not going to give you the details of what happened. I would never do that. I would never give you the details. Like, bro, you already told. You might as well just finish up the story. So he has a history of doing it. So what happens? Stephen A. Smith now produces his show. He goes on this tirade, although he likes to say he's not, because he starts off by saying, we all know Terrell Owens is this, we all know he's that, we all know he's this, we all know he's that, and then he then continues to bleep all over him, to the point where he even threatens to bring out fire. No, he brought up papers in his hands, which were files that no one knew what was in those files, and he threatened to expose Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens sees this, and he responds to him on Twitter. And I thought that was it. I thought I believe most of us thought that was the end of it. But then what happens yesterday? I'm on the internet, and I see a video of Terrell Owens on All the Smoke podcast, basically airing out his grievances to Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, who afforded him with a platform to do so. So what we want to do is want to play the most important parts, in our opinion, on what he had to say about how things have gotten to where they are with him and Stephen A. Smith, and then we're going to come back and give you guys our closing thoughts. Take a listen to what Terrell Owens had to say about Stephen A. Smith on the All the Smoke podcast. Take a listen to that.
And even at the clip, like again, you said it resurfaced. Mm-hmm. It resurfaced because I guess he did an interview with Joe Budden and he explained why he didn't like Max, or he didn't like working with Max. Okay. And so obviously Max ended up getting fired, blah, 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 blah. So fans took to that interview and they brought up, okay, well, this is why T.O. said what he said. Okay. So I kept getting tagged on the video. Okay. And my phone, like, yo, what's going on? So I saw the comments or what have you, and I haven't backed down from anything. I just said facts and just left it at that. He took offense to that. Then he went on his podcast and said that I posted it, which I didn't. And even in my response to that, and I'm like, genius, I retweeted it. I didn't actually post it. I didn't go out of my way to go bring everything up. It was only a response to that interview that he did with Joe Budden about Max, that all the fans, brought it up. Mm-hmm. So he took offense, to that. And so that's where it all resurfaced.
Now, I got a chance to see what he said. I went back and watched it. He said something about a lawsuit at ESPN or so.
Right. So,
bring some clarity to that?
Right. So I guess there was something going on. I guess we were talking about the Kaepernick situation, and somehow there was a text exchange between me and him.
Between you and Stephen A.
Me and Stephen A. Okay. And he, on air, he mentioned something about the text, which I didn't give him consent to do. Mm-hmm. I had
that's one rule. If somebody texts you or any type of conversation takes, you do not share that on social media or none of that, bro. You just, especially the person don't know. Yeah,
right, exactly. Right. So I didn't take the honest. I didn't go out of my way to go file a lawsuit. I had an attorney that reached out to me, like, yo, that's not right. It's copyright infringement, something along those lines.
Gotcha. Oh, so someone just reached out. An attorney came and found you about it. And said, do you want to pursue action?
This is what happens. Like, he can't do that. So It wasn't really him. It was I looked at ESPN. Okay. ESPN has dogged me over the years, mischaracterized me, having people having misunderstandings about who I am. Whether as far as my character is concerned, everybody's talking about I'm arrogant, I'm selfish. Of course, I've had disagreements with some players, some coaches, but who hasn't? Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, my question is, but I do not to cut you off. I want you to finish. Right. I do remember he was one of the so before all this shit hit, you guys were cool then, because I remember he used to stand up for you a lot. That was the one thing he used to do back in the day before the shit hit the fan.
I think everybody realized Stephen A. was cool with a lot of things back in the day. Okay. But as time has surpassed, a lot of people have a different opinion about who Stephen was then and who he is now. Okay. I'm one of those people. So regardless of that, me and Stephen A., we ain't buddy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whether he talks good or bad about me on his show, whether it's objective or subjective, that's his job. Okay. I didn't know Stephen A. prior to me, I guess, our initial meeting. I guarantee he knew about me because of my play before I knew about him. So we're not buddy. Okay. At the end of the day. And so again, back to my point. The attorney reached out. He said, "This is what we're going to do." He went after ESPN. He submitted the file or the claim to ESPN, and that's how things started. But for him to say and allude or insinuate that it's a money grab or something like that, that's not cool. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? To insinuate, oh, I'm broke, this and that and the other, because these are certain things, like I said, that it is personal. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's no secret. I was represented by Drew and Jason Rosenhaus. They referred me to Pro Sports Financial, who's a financial advisor, and Jeff Rubin. It's public knowledge, bro. I got taken advantage of. They stole a lot of my money. But for him to go on TV and insinuate certain these things that I did X, Y, Z, and I'm desperate, that's not cool, bro. I'm not
nobody's business.
I'm not gonna let that slide. So at the end of the day, and I told him, I told him, yo, keep that same energy. You're gonna call me a sorry ass and I'm pathetic, things of that nature. I'm trifling. If I ever come across him, keep that same energy. It's not a threat, but you're not gonna use that platform to downgrade me as a person and what I've accomplished for your benefit, because you have a platform to do that. And then talk about and bring up all these top name people or high qualified, I guess in his name, to demean me. He mentioning the Donovan McNabb, the Brian Dawkins, the Primes, you know what I mean? Shannon Sharp, you know, talking about GMs and players, talking about don't go after him like that. What have I ever done? Then holding up papers in his podcast like he got something on me. He's gonna expose me. Expose me for what? I urge him to. I give him permission to expose me because I've never done anything. You don't have anything on me. You got the world looking at me crazy like you got something on me. So if you do, please, like I said, I can look in this camera just like he looks into the camera and talk to America. And when I tell you, when I'm serious about that, keep that same energy, my guy. Keep that same energy.
So you heard what Terrell Owens had to say there. First of all, I don't think this guy's joking. I don't think he's joking. I don't think it's a laughing matter. I think he's dead serious. I personally believe that he feels that Stephen A. Smith crossed the line. That's number one. Number two, it is pretty telling for Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson to give Terrell Owens a platform to speak. And I think it's important that he got that opportunity, because now at least he can say his own side. If it's just Stephen A. Smith talking, then he'll be the one that gets to shape the narrative. I'm happy that they gave him room to speak. At the end of that show, Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson were joking about the fact, hey man, we try to be the peacemakers. I mean, when you got us, I mean, we try to be the peacemakers. It didn't work out, right? But I can see that what they wanted to do was just allow this man to say his own part. That's nice for him, because I'll tell you what, most people wouldn't. Most people wouldn't. They would just click up and be like, nah. So for them to still be friends with both of them, but also, hey, let me allow this guy to talk. Let me allow him to say his piece. It's tantamount to two guys having an issue. They're like, okay, y'all just gonna have to duke it out. But then stopping somebody for trying to jump in, like, no, let him handle that. I've been in a situation where, like, with me and my friend, we had to knuckle up, and nobody was jumping in, right? So I think they were trying to do that thing, right? But to what Terrell Owens had to say, none of this really surprises me. None of it really does. None of it really does. I think that he was responding to some of the things that Stephen A. Smith said by pretty much airing his dirty laundry, right? That was, I already said it. Stephen A. Smith a grimy dude, man. I've already said it. He a grimy dude, man. Some of those moves was grimy. What you said about Max Kellerman was grimy. Coming up there with files and all of that stuff, threatening to expose people. That was a bozo move. We're going to keep it 100. Because, number one, it makes it look like you're some type of investigator. That's the same thing that happened with just like 3 weeks ago with Lonzo Ball. When Lonzo Ball was like, yo, who told you I can't stand up and I can barely get up out of a chair? And then you go on TV like, yo, cut it out and all of this. And you start threatening to release, where he had his surgery, the name of the doctor, the day he did this. It's like, yo, bro, what is going on? Like, why are you going that deep? That's a little bit too much, don't you think? So for Terrell Owens to do this, man, I'm happy that he said his piece. If you listen to the very end, he's not joking. It's not a laughing matter. And I think if I'm Stephen A. Smith, I think that I just let this go. I think if I'm Stephen A. Smith, I just stop talking for a while. I just focus on my business, which is discussing sports, and stop this thing of going at people, proving you're tough, ice grilling, and all that. Yo, like, cut it again. As I said before, and I'm going to say it again, we all talking sports here. We're all talking sports. None of us ain't going to spin a block on nobody. We're just sports people. So to be walking around with that type of energy, acting like you're going to do this, acting like you're going to do that, I don't think is a good look. It doesn't look professional, to be quite honest with you. And to be going at T.O. in that fashion, man, for him to respond at this level, you know that it's pretty serious. And I said in one of my shows, I'm going to say on one of the other shows, and I'm going to say it here once more, it's always Stephen A. Smith and these kind of things, man. It's always him. After a while, we got to then look at the person. I'm like, is it the person? This is not the first person that's had an issue with Stephen A. Smith. I'm not joking with you. You had Kevin Durant. He threatened Kevin Durant on TV. We just had Lonzo Ball. He threatened Lonzo Ball on TV. You had Kwame Brown. He threatened Kwame Brown, and I mean, not threatened, but he made fun of Kwame Brown that he went out in there and did a low light reel of the guy on television, which a lot of people said that was a bozo move. You now have Terrell Owens, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And you're always a common denominator. There are a lot of athletes that have things said about them by various personalities, but it's always you that always find yourself in a mix-up. So maybe you just need to relax and, just stick to sports, man. Stick to sports. Let's not make it so confrontational. But these are my thoughts. So what I want to know from you guys is, what do you think about what Terrell Owens had to say? And most importantly, now that Terrell Owens has said his piece, do you think that is over? Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comments. We'll catch you on the next show.